Premonitions, psychic abilities, coincidences, synchronicities, pareidolias, all of that stuff play a big part and are a big factor in your spiritual awakening. They are also very, very dangerous, can be very manipulative, and can be also deceiving, leading you down roads you don't want to travel and taking you off course from your spiritual growth and maturity and evolution. They are what is called and referred to in the Bible, or in a sense from the Bible, as discernment. Being able to understand, to know, to recognize beforehand something, either of an event or a situation or an outcome to something, a problem or a situation or whatever it may be, good, bad, or indifferent. I want to talk about how dangerous they are and how bad they are, because I fell victim of this. I fell victim to this, especially in my first spiritual awakening. And it will happen again in your second spiritual awakening, because it's just part of the process of deleting the things that are not necessary in your life and accepting the things that serve you. And premonitions, pareidolia, synchronicities, coincidences, hunches, feelings, all that is associated with discernment do serve you. But also know that you are not a servant to them. And that is the mistake most people make. Do not become a servant to them, but have them work for you. You be the master. They be the servants that obey you. In my first spiritual awakening, I started noticing that things I thought would manifest and appear before me. Sometimes I'd be talking with my friends and I'd be finishing their sentences. And I'm not that kind of person, but I would know what they had to say before they said it. Other times I'd be sitting at home, we'd be watching a hockey game. Living in Canada, we love hockey. And we'd be watching a hockey game. And I would say things about, almost act like the commentators in the arena who are giving us a play-by-play of the action that's taking place on the ice. And I would throw in my commentary, and then the commentators would repeat exactly the same thing that I said in my living room. And my friends would be in shock. And they were like, how did you do that? How did you do that? I don't know. To this day, I still don't know how that happens. To this day, I don't care. I've learned in my second spiritual awakening to just release it and let it go. If it's not serving me, let it go. If there's nothing I can do about it, let it go. If there's nothing that can be done, let it go. It's not serving me. So there's no point in following it and paying attention to it. But during my first spiritual awakening, all of this stuff, my psychic senses were on overload. And my psychic senses were constantly working, whether it be in dreams, whether it be thinking something, it would happen, whether it be thinking of a person and they would appear to me, whether it be wanting a book and somehow it would come into my life, whether it be searching for something. And it's all part of the seeking phase. But all of a sudden, the seeking phase takes a different turn, takes a different road, and takes you down a different route than the route that you were on. Rather than eliminating this stuff and knowing that you are the supreme being and the master of these things, you go down this road where you think, hey, I'm gifted, I'm psychic, I'm a telekinetic super being, I have ESP, extrasensory perception, beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm greater than any X-Men or any Professor Xavier out there. And you couldn't be further from the truth. There are people who choose to go down that road and learn how to harness this power. Again, that road takes you away from your spiritual path. It keeps you seeking. It keeps you looking and waiting for the next impulse, the next sensation, the next lightning bolt, of information. And that's all it is a bombardment of information. A bombardment of information constantly attacking you. And if you're not careful with it and you don't exercise it properly and you just, full throttle, head straight into it, you won't know the difference between up and down, because it's too much information. It's an influx of information that is constantly hitting you all the time. And some of that information is about yourself. Some of that information could be from picking up frequencies and communications and thoughts all over the place around you. Some of that could be communication between you and your friends, and carrying that communication around with you, and then it just suddenly appears before you. Other times it could be information that you received through social media, through the internet, through the news, through television, through whatever. It's an influx of information, and it's coming from every single direction, every single which way, because you are a magnet and you're picking up the electrical currency that is now being attracted to you. And your mind is, I am a psychic. I'm going to develop my psychic abilities, but not by exercising it and jumping headfirst into it. You will be confused. I don't suggest that you go down that route of exercising it, because even a real psychic will tell you that their accuracy percentage is between 10 to 15%, right? It's a very, very small window of being able to predict or know or foresee anything that is happening. Things are constantly changing. Everyone is in control of their life. Unless you're deceptive and manipulative with it, and people come to you and you deceive them, and then you have them thinking that they need you, which is no different than organized religion. It's the same thing, making you feel that you need them, and all they're looking for is to build their platform and keep growing and growing and growing. And if you have a clairvoyant that you go to, if you have a special telepathic telecommunication process master guru that you go to, this is all foolishness and nonsense. There's way too much information coming in, and even that 10 to 15% is really nonsense. It's probably between 3 to 5% accuracy in any prediction and in any outcome, because there's just way too much. If you look at it, let's say from a realistic perspective, too much information. You are a radio station. You are actually a radio tower, and you're constantly picking up frequencies, and your channels are constantly changing. And some are clear, and some are distorted, and some are just inaudible. You just don't know what's going on. And dreams will do the same thing to you. Pareidolias will do the same thing to you. It's fun. Pareidolias are fun, and they're great, making shapes and seeing faces and whatnot in the clouds and the trees and movement of the waves, of the blades of grass across it. They're fun, but you can get carried away with it, and you can turn it into an addiction, and that's where it becomes dangerous. That's where you realize, I'm like severely off the road. And that happened to me. I thought that, hey, you know what, I'm spiritual, I get it, Jesus Christ is man. In my first spiritual awakening, I understood that God and I are one. I had union with God, and I assumed that everything in my real life, in the natural world, in the sleepwalk and amnesia and separation of my spiritual self, when I was walking around and having these coincidences manifest left, right, and center and all around me, I thought that I got God's superpower. And again, I was thinking of God as an external person. I'm thinking I had union with God, and now I have God's superpower. I am the Professor Xavier, thinking, everything I say, everything I touch, everything I saw, everything I heard, manifested, appeared, foreshadowed, was foresight and insight and whatnot. And I quickly found out that there's much more going on with the human body and the transformation between flesh and the spirit that really can be misleading and misguiding. And that's all ego-based. That is the Satan in the world, disguising itself as an angel of light. It's the ego. Look at you. You got superpowers now. You went down that spiritual road. You had union with God. You saw things that you weren't supposed to see, heard things that you were not supposed to hear, and things that you cannot utter. And now look at you. You're super powerful, super being, super all and wonderful. Look at you. Yeah, that's the ego. That'll convince you that, really it's saying, don't go. Don't leave me. Don't leave me, because it's not real. it doesn't have any basis in reality. It wants to believe it's eternal, and it's holding you hostage to limitations, to limited beliefs, when as a spiritual being, there's only one truth, one belief, one understanding, and that is eternal, and that is life eternal, and that is your immortality, and that is your divinity. But you go down this road where you think you are psychic, you have premonitions that come to pass. You are the prophet of the Bible. You are the prophets. And in all honesty, a prophet never told about the future. If they did know about the future, or if they did have a spiritual glimpse and were able to change an outcome in some sort of way, it's manifestation. They put the word out there. They wanted to see the change. The change took place inside of them, and it reflected everywhere all around them. Good, bad, and indifferent. But a prophet never went around acting like the witch of Endor, or acting like a psychic, or any like a sorcerer, like in the book of Acts, the one that confronted Paul. A prophet never did that. A prophet was always testifying of God, testifying of the Jesus Christ, testifying about their experience of Jesus Christ, and telling you, making it sound like some sort of future event of the change that will happen to you, of your spiritual awakening, of what you will become, as they referred to themselves through their change of Jesus Christ and into spiritual beings. And it's all a testimony of confession, of a spiritual awakening, union with God, birth from above. It's all a confession. That's all a prophet does. A prophet is not a witch, is not a sorcerer, and is not a psychic or any of that. And if anything they say does come to pass, it is manifestation. And they're showing you not what's going to come to pass, but how to use the creative power. The other thing that I realized traveling down this road, my first spiritual awakening, was I had a lot of emotions, and I had a lot of memories. And memories were confusing me with the outcome of certain situations that led me to believe that I may have some kind of psychic ability. People in my past, and hurts and emotions attached to those hurts, and the feelings and the changes and everything that a memory holds of vivid clarity of a life once lived, all of a sudden was a part of this confrontation, this judgment that was taking place. And at the same time, because certain faces and situations and scenarios seem familiar, they would also very much be a part of that amnesia separation that I was walking through and seeking in the world, and manifest itself as some sort of psychic ability. I had no psychic ability. I have no psychic ability. If I do say something and my word goes out, and will not return unto me void, but must prosper and accomplish in the things that I set it forth to do, paraphrasing Isaiah here, then that is manifestation. That is something that I want to manifest in my life. A change, an outcome, something positive, something good, something out of love and kindness. And it starts rearranging inside and transforming and shifting and making the changes inside so that it can be a reflection on the outside. It's not a psychic ability. Every single person in this world knows how to manifest. Every single person does it in the sleepwalk, in the amnesia, in the separation of the world, but they don't recognize it. And then they come to a point of awakening and they recognize it. I would almost say it's better not to recognize it, to be honest with you, because when you recognize it, you seem to put too much emphasis and too much stress and too much into your manifestation. And what you really have to do is do it how you were doing it in the world of amnesia, in the sleepwalk, in the seeking and the searching and in the separation from your spiritual self. And when you can do this spiritually, just walk naturally in the spirit and know that what you want to happen in your life will happen in your life, and you just drop it, release it, let it go. Anyone who believes, asking whatever they want, they shall receive it if they do not doubt. Again, paraphrasing from your New Testament. But If you can walk that way, that is the best way, because that is the sleepwalk and the amnesia. It's a world created, manifested through sleep, and always keeping the seeker and the sleepwalker in a state of sleep, unaware that they are developing themselves. They are creating themselves, literally creating themselves, literally as clay, as it says, the potter and his clay. And if the vessel isn't good, well, he'll just like reform it and make a brand new vessel out of it. And that's what you're doing in the state of amnesia. Only you have signs, you have roads, you have direction, you have influences, you have inspiration that are constantly talking to you, unaware that you are being developed. You are creating yourself and developing yourself through the subconscious acceptance and acknowledgement of these influences in the separation. When you get to spirituality, you have to almost treat it the same way. You want to see an outcome? See it, drop it, let it go, forget about it. And then it'll manifest. And it's not up to you when it'll manifest, how it'll manifest, when it'll come into your life. It is just up to you to know that you did it. And then when it does manifest and show up in your life, be aware that you're the one who did it, and don't give the recognition or any of yourself into believing it was through some rational act or some reasoning act, trying to put, MC squared and the Pythagorean theorem all together and, say, oh, that was the cause of it. You are the cause of it. And you just have to remember, when it does manifest, you showed up. But that's manifestation. Premonition it can be very misleading. It can be way too much, especially during a spiritual awakening, because you're confronting a lot of things in your life that also may be present. And you're also confronting them in the present moment and unaware that you may be dealing with the past. And it's an influx of information that is just way too much, and it's a very dangerous road to go down unless you are prepared to treat it like an exercise and grow in it and develop it. And then you're still living in separation, because now you veered off your spiritual path, which has so much more insight and so much growth that you'll have to wait now for a second spiritual awakening. And you will, but you could also, through your first spiritual awakening and discovering this, or even prior to a spiritual awakening, discover this, miss out the whole glorious road of spirituality, which is terrifying and horrible and darkness, and at the same time is transformative, and it is glorious, and it is wonderful, and it is revealing of the greater you that you truly are than the you walking around thinking you are psychic in the world. I had a dream just this past weekend, early Saturday morning, September 6th. In this dream, I was in a van, and my dog was in the van with me. And I found myself, it was night, and I was trying to park on the street. As I was trying to park, I saw a police car in front of me with all the flashing red, white, and blue lights, and it was backing up to me. And I thought, well, I have to back up too, right? So I started backing up. The officer got out of his car and came to me, and it looked like he was trying to warn me about something. I didn't pay attention. I backed up as far as I could, and then I ended up pulling out of that spot, and I decided I was going to drive away to another spot. But before I pulled out, I saw buildings all around me, and I didn't recognize this place. This place looked different. It didn't look like the town that I live in. It didn't look like any part of Canada that I lived in. It looked like it was some ancient part or some town that had history, but it wasn't part of the towns or the history that I was familiar with here in Canada. It could have been the United States. But I just know that my environment seemed strange, and there was buildings all around me. And then all of a sudden the buildings started crumbling, and they were falling at a pace that almost made it seem like as if they were meteor rocks falling from the sky. And 2 or 3 of them hit the roof of the van. And I looked back at my dog and I said, "Hey, are you okay, Nola? Are you okay? Are you okay?" She was okay. She was comfortable in there. And then all of a sudden I saw 3 large parts of a building come crashing towards me and break through the roof of the car, of the van that I was in. And I looked back at my dog thinking she was hurt, but she was fine. I immediately peeled out of there, drove off down the road. And as I'm driving off the road, the car is shaking back and forth. And I said to myself as I was driving, I'm like, this is an earthquake. We're having an earthquake. We're having an earthquake. So I continued driving as the car was rocking back and forth. And I drove down this street and I woke up on my bed, and it was around 7 o'clock in the morning. I ended up waking up on my bed, and I thought to myself, did we have an earthquake? Was there an earthquake last night? Because this earthquake situation, especially in British Columbia where I live, and during my first spiritual awakening, did happen to me. Only I was working with a group of people that thought that they were psychic. That's why this whole conversation about being psychic. There was a guy I was working with. I was a dishwasher. He was a dishwasher. And when we were needed on the line to cook or to help the chefs or whatever, we would go up and be line cooks, you know? But we were dishwashers. But this guy had insight, you know? He could sense things. He could feel things. You know, he had great intuition. And I remember back then, in those days, in like 1996, when I first came out here to British Columbia, I had this dream, and I saw myself in downtown Victoria on Vancouver Island, and the buildings were all shaking and whatnot. And I ended up going to work that day, and I was confronted by this old man who works at the restaurant, who was a friend of the owners. His name was Greg. And by this other dishwasher, whose name escapes me now, I forget his name. And Greg looks at me and goes, you can't know. You can't know. It's impossible that you know. It's impossible that you know. And the other guy looks at me and he goes, do you know we had an earthquake last night? And I said, no. Although I had the dream, I didn't admit to like seeing it in my dream. But they scared me. That was my first spiritual awakening. And I had this dream of an earthquake, and it scared me. And because the next day, I read all about this 6.5 magnitude earthquake that had hit downtown Vancouver Island, Victoria. And I had this dream. And then I get confronted by these people who, I don't know, maybe they had a dream where they saw me, or maybe they had some idea that I knew, because I was speaking a lot about my spirituality and my first awakening and my union with God and whatnot. And I was trying to share it with whoever would listen, you know? And maybe that was the reason why they confronted me after they had the earthquake, because Greg looked at me and he was mean and ugly and disappointed and angry with me. And he just kept saying, you can't know. You can't know. He goes, it's impossible that you know that we were to have an earthquake. You can't know. I didn't know. I just dreamt about it the night before. That doesn't mean that I knew anything. I woke up and I read in the papers that we had an earthquake. Same thing happened this past weekend. Only this time, I let these things go. They don't interest me. I'm not interested in playing psychic. I'm not interested in rushing to the media and telling them, hey, you know what? I dreamt of this earthquake. I couldn't do anything about it anyways because it happened. So anyways, Saturday morning when I wake up, I go scour the internet, all the news, and I don't see anything about an earthquake. Nothing about an earthquake. So I thought to myself, it was just a silly dream. It was nonsense. Didn't mean anything. Sunday morning, on the 7th, I wake up and I see it plastered on the internet, on Yahoo, on Google, all the news outlets, and on YouTube. There's people talking about right at the border of Alaska and Canada, right at the top where British Columbia ends and the United States begins, Alaska, there was a 7.0 magnitude earthquake that had hit, rattled buildings, and some of them had broken off and fallen apart and crashed to the ground on the Alaska, on the United States side. And it was felt all the way down the coast of British Columbia, right down to Vancouver Island. Nothing serious or nothing major here on Vancouver Island. I mean, we probably get 2 or 3 earthquakes a week out here, you know, very small, you know, 2.5, 3.4, 4, something like that. Nothing major. It's just the earth moving, and it's being monitored by the seismologists and people who monitor this stuff. And they always bring it to our attention that, you know, sometime during this week there was a small earthquake up near Gold River or something, you know. But I woke up and on Saturday, I had the dream like Friday night. I went to bed, and then early Saturday morning I had this dream, but I didn't see anything. All day Saturday I didn't hear anything about it. Apparently it hit Saturday afternoon around 1 p.m. Pacific time. And that's when it hit. So when I woke up in the morning, of course, there was no report of it. Of course, there was nothing about it. But as we went about our daily routine and there was nothing heard of it. Nothing happened until Sunday, when a full-blown report came out of what actually happened up at the top of British Columbia, Canada, leading into Alaska, United States. And here's the news article. Here's the news article that I found on Sunday. But even though I had this dream, what can I do about it? Who can I tell? What can I say? I don't want to look like a lunatic. And second of all, I didn't even know if it was true or not. These things, when they are true, when they are a revelation of something or foresight into something, they're not meant for you to become famous and recognized as some sort of psychic guru or some sort of whatever, because then people will want to feed off you and people will want to get the next information. People will want to know future outcomes and forecast for them what will happen in the future. I don't want to be that person. So if it happens, it happens. If the world blows up, I don't care. If I knew a week before the world would blow up, I still wouldn't say anything. I don't care. I don't want to be a psychic phenomena. I appreciate the ability and I understand the ability and what we are. We supersede and we surpass and we go beyond anything that is rational or reasonable in this world. We are much more than that. At the same time, I am not going to be influenced and also give my strength and my power over to thinking that I am something that I am not and that I can control an outcome when I can't. It is ridiculous, it is foolish, and it is complete utter nonsense. But it is not beyond understanding that we are greater than what we truly think we are, and that we are the universe, the world, the everything. And what feels like an earthquake all around us is also a trembling and a vibration that is taking place within us. So I don't need to be able to say anything and be something or prove someone or perform magic tricks for someone. No, I'm not interested in that. But I do know that I am limitless. I am constantly expanding. I am constantly growing. I am consciousness. I am every single thing. Every single thing. If I am every single thing, I am awareness of every single thing. Do I want to capitalize on being aware of every single thing? No. Hell no. Absolutely not. And it serves me no purpose. It serves me nothing. It's unfortunate that maybe people can get hurt and lives may be lost and whatnot, but I am not going to play something that I am not. I'm going to continue in my life, growing, evolving, and knowing the person that I am spiritually. I am not of the world. I am in the world. And not of the world. I understand that this world is fleeting and passing by. And any minute, any second could be our very last on this world. So why would I give my power away to wanting to be someone or something just to please or just to become a part of a title? I'm not a title. I'm titleless. This is T-Talk. This is Nick. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys next time.